Here we go to Ecuador.
First, they have to prove that it's caused by crude or by petroleum industry. And second, they have to prove that it is our crude, which is absolutely impossible.
Let's go find out.
In the old days, we hunted with blowpipes. Now I have a shotgun.
Por helicóptero.
They give us candy, sugar, diesel fuel, and cheese. The cheese smelled funny. We threw it into the jungle. They say we could rub oil on our skin to cure aches and pains.
Oh, so they told you that if you put oil on your skin, it would make you better?
Sí, a eso digo, sí.
This pit is the result of an accidental puncture to a wellhead. Now, Texaco said that when it was operating these wells, you didn't have many of these accidents. But that's maybe because of this. It says personal and confidential. It says reports are to be removed from the field division offices and destroyed. Like that. If you were here with me, you could smell it. Yum. The co-fans say this is standard operating procedure.
They drink this stuff. They swim in it.
Did they show you a medical certificate?
No.
And it's the only case of cancer in the world? How many cases of children with cancer you have in the States, in Europe, in
In the
Quito?
UK?
If there is somebody with cancer there, first they have to prove that scientifically has nobody proved that crude causes cancer. Okay?
So they're looking for deep pockets. Simply as that. That's
just-
all what they want.
They're just going after rich gringos.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There you go.
It's the largest fraud in the history.
Chapter 5. The cheese smelled funny, so we threw it in the jungle. When BP's Gulf well blew, Chevron began to shit bricks as it watched its stock drop 10%.
You were in Ecuador, Greg.
Yes, so what you saw were pieces of a film I did for BBC television on the destruction in Ecuador. Okay, so, and understand, so what I found, there was a document I'm holding in my hand when I'm picking up sludge out of this pool. Now, in the U.S., it's illegal to keep drilling sludge open. Okay, and you see I'm picking up that sludge with a stick. Well, you can't always see that there's sludge there. They just look like normal ponds all through the Amazon. And I met with the chief of the Kofan indigenous people of the Amazon. And he's the guy wearing the war paint. Why do you wear the war paint? because his son went swimming in one of these swimming holes, which turned out to have sludge in it, came up vomiting blood, and died, his 5-year-old son. He then sued Chevron Corporation that left that filth there. It used to be which is actually Texaco, which was bought by Chevron Corporation. And he's wearing the war paint, and some of the locals are laughing at him, but this is very serious stuff. It's so serious that his lawyer, a brave, brilliant man named Steve Donziger of New York. This lawyer, Steve Donziger, to know something about him, he went to law school with Barack Obama, but unlike Obama, who went to a big law firm, fancy law firm, made a lot of money, then got into politics, Steve Donziger has spent his entire life basically with one case, fighting for 3 decades for these Kofan natives, the people whose lives and kids have been destroyed by Chevron. You see the pustules on this one man's arm from the oil left by Texaco Chevron. And then the guys in the kind of golf pants at the end, those are the lawyers for Chevron and Texaco saying, oh, what? These are the only kids who ever get cancer? Because there's cancers, huge cancer hotspot among children, childhood leukemia in the Amazon because of the drilling. So, these are the only kids that get cancer? No one's ever proved that crude oil causes cancer. Are you kidding me? And then he adds, and even if you could prove that these kids got cancer from crude oil, you can't prove it's our oil. These guys, Chevron then tried to get Greg Palast fired. They contacted BBC Television. They Chevron filed a complaint against me saying I was biased against Chevron. No, Chevron's not afraid that I was biased against them. What they're afraid of is I showed you the document. So you saw I was holding up a document. That document actually says that that it's an order from Chevron Texaco executives saying destroy all files regarding dumping of hydrocarbons. Destroy the files. And they said it in English and they said it in Spanish so there'd be no misunderstanding. Destroy evidence. Okay? That's a crime. Now, you'd think, so are these guys in jail? No. Well, what happened in that lawsuit filed by Steve Donziger, the great attorney? He filed it in New York. No, they said, no, you got to send it to back to Ecuador. So they won the case in Ecuador. Then it went to Canada, and they won the case. The indigenous people won the case in Canada against Chevron to stop this bloody, murderous reign of ecological terror by Chevron Corporation. So here was what they did. Besides trying to get Greg Palast fired, which they did not succeed, I went through a year of hearings, but they did get. Are you ready for this? Instead of making the payment from the court judgment in both Canada and in Ecuador, instead of making that payment or allowing a trial to go ahead in the United States, they arrested Steve Donziger, the lawyer who's been sacrificing his whole life representing these indigenous people of the Amazon. And so Donziger, they said, oh, he's holding back evidence. I just showed you that Chevron was destroying evidence. They said Donziger was hiding evidence because there was a film made about his work called Crude. They used outtakes. They said, oh, he's lying, he's manipulating the legal system, etc. They made up all this crap because that's what Chevron does. They're not satisfied with just beating you in a courtroom because they own the judges. In New York, there's a judge named Kaplan, and the guy is the one who's put Donziger under house arrest for more than a year. House arrest! So he's been isolated, Steve Donziger. And I want to tell you that I was so upset about this that I called the president. And the president actually has a comment about what happened to Steve Donziger and what Chevron has done to him. And so, well, it's actually not the president. It's a guy who kind of pretends to be the president. Do we have a call? I called him up. Thank you, Amazon Watch, for connecting me to the president.
Here he is.
Texaco/Chevron. They are the Harvey Weinstein of the environmental pollution issue. And like Weinstein, they've exploited every opportunity they can to evade justice, to evade punishment. And when Donziger takes us through the history of the case, where, if I'm not mistaken, Chevron themselves insisted the case be tried in Ecuador. They did not want the case tried in the United States. They didn't think they could get a fair trial. They thought they had the whole country down there bought and sold and everything nice and tidy, and they insisted the case be down there. And Donziger won, and he won again, and he won again, which drove them insane. So they had to come back to the United States, to New York, where they could get a judge that was really going to play ball. The issue in cases like this very often, not always, but very often, are justices like Kaplan. Kaplan is bought and sold. He is bought and sold by the oil industry. What he's done to Donziger is not only unfair, as you've been told, it's unprecedented. It's unprecedented the way he's treated him and punished him for winning. He took the case to other jurisdictions, as he mentioned, including Canada, where he won again. It was reaffirmed again and again and again. The Chevron has achieved their goal, and again, I want to stress that Chevron's behaving like all oil companies. They want to discover oil. They want to pump oil and refine oil, and the damage is just considered collateral damage because they believe the world is addicted to this material.
Special edition, a exact 10-year anniversary date of the Deepwater Horizon